So I guess, how are you feeling about the whole period to start off with and going forward?
Yeah, Brett, obviously we went in with a bit of a focus, I guess, around our draft picks and Jackson Haitley. And obviously we went in good faith to obviously try and get a deal done with GWS. But it seems like time ran out at the end and we'll now pursue, I guess, Jackson through the pre-season draft in December.
And you've obviously made a commitment to Haitley then. Can you tell me and expand a little bit around that and what you're looking for in him?
Yeah, Jackson obviously got drafted 2 years ago by GWS at pick 14. He's, I guess, an inside mid that can play outside on the wing and half forward. He's 190 centimetres and loves the contest and tackling and just a great individual. His character and leadership, what he'll bring to the group, will add some depth through the midfield.
And can you talk me through a little bit around the national draft strategy going forward? Do you have a particular strategy in the future, and are you looking at a certain number of players?
Yeah, but we've got a bit of work through that with Hamish and the team. As of next Monday, we'll go into, I guess, that draft preparation. But as of tomorrow, we can still move picks around. So there's a trade pick period that we can work from tomorrow up until the Monday before the draft. So obviously, we've still got some picks sitting there that we can do some work with either for this year or into the future. And we'll go into the draft with anywhere from 3 to 5 picks. So we'll work through that with list management and recruiting over the next, fortnight or so.
Beautiful. Thank you. They were the main things I wanted to ask you for now. Thank you.
Sure.
Leo, do you want to go next, mate?
Sure. Hello, Reid. Do you want to perhaps, I'm good. Do you want to give us a bit of insight into the delistings, if we could start with the guys that you won't offer a deal? Just share a few thoughts on why they missed out.
Yeah, Theo, I think it's, it's always a challenging time when you're having those conversations. But I guess from a list management perspective, with Geordie and Miles that had been here 4 years and, it's probably more about just turning the list over and looking to the draft and where there is other opportunity elsewhere on the list. So obviously those two guys that have been here for 4 years, they've played some football, but just haven't quite got to the level, unfortunately. And Croc, who's a super individual, he came over the last 12 months and gave some great energy to the group. But again, with list sizes and the decisions we need to make around the draft and the rookie list, some of that's had the impact on those decisions as well. And
good for Dave, obviously, too, mate.
Yeah, look, we're always keen to keep Dave around, just him as an individual, to be around the young guys and what he brings to the group. And the footy he's played in the last few years, he really deserved another year. And we've got some clarity on the list sizes over the last 24 hours, so that helped with our decision making.
And 22 and 23, is their capacity to shift forward? I know the start of the second round picks are normally a bit more valuable when you break at the end of the first round. Is there a way to juggle those and maximise their value?
Yeah, there could be, Theo. Yeah, certainly in this period up into the draft or even on the night of the draft. So whether that's, moving up in this year's draft or, splitting it out on the night or into the future, we've certainly got some options to work with those two picks.
Beauty. Thanks, Reid.
Thanks, Theo.
Matt?
Hey, Reid. How you going?
Hey, Matt. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad, mate. Just further to the Haitley stuff, I'm not sure if you've heard or seen the comments from Jason McCartney today. He said that each club's got to do the best thing by their club, but you've got to find a way to do it in a respectful manner. The reality was what Adelaide was putting forward wasn't good enough. What's your take on those comments, I guess, particularly like the use of the term respectful manner?
Oh, Matt, I haven't seen those comments, but I know the way we go about our business, we're doing what's best by the Adelaide Football Club, and we certainly went in with good faith to look to get a trade done with Jackson and GWS, and Jackson and his management were aware of that. So, we started those conversations leading into the trade period, and certainly last Wednesday and Thursday we had good open dialogue. And as I said, we spoke 5 or 6 times yesterday, but my understanding is, speaking to other management groups that were involved with whether it was the Cameron or the Caldwell deal, it just ran out of time in the end. So, we're really respectful in the process, and, we don't shy away from how we went about our business, and unfortunately it just ran out of time.
How close were you to anything else happening outside of a Haitley deal?
Look, there's always things, Matt, throughout that fortnight that I guess raise its head, and we work through those scenarios, whether that's, players, but probably more so around draft picks. But But what you find is a lot of the movement on draft picks is usually centered around the players themselves. And obviously, apart from Jacko, our focus has been going into the draft itself. So when you're going into the trade period, there'll be some opportunities, but at the same time, the focus is going into the draft with the hand that we have.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. You talked about potential picks moving up before with 22 or 23. Is there any chance you trade pick 1 if you get a Godfather offer, or are you determined to go in with pick 1 regardless?
I think it'd be unlikely, Matt, but in saying that, you're right. If there's a Godfather offer, it's something that, whether it's myself or, the list management team, would always have to listen to, but I would think that would be unlikely, but always got to be open-minded.
Happy to move it around.
Max, you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. How are we all?
Hey, Max.
Excellent. Hey, Reedy. I just wanted to ask one. You spoke about, it's almost more interest than anything else. You spoke about doing deals in good faith before. Can you talk us through that process a little bit as a football club? Like with the Haitley stuff in particular, you've got the power to pick him up in the preseason draft. He can walk there. So there's no need essentially for you to do any deal with GWS, but clubs always talk about doing things like that in good faith. Can you talk us through that process and what does that mean?
Yeah, Max, I think you're always going to have to go back and have conversations or do other deals with clubs and individual clubs, whether it's GWS or other clubs, or as we've seen, there's a lot of personnel that might start at one club then finish up at another. So, for instance, last year, Hugh Greenwood, Gold Coast were on the bottom. They could have walked Hugh Greenwood, but in good faith, wasn't exactly what we desired, but at the same time, we had to work with what was in front of us. So I think that was a future 3 and a future 4. So, look, you don't really go in that intent to actually walk someone, and that was never our desire, and it certainly wasn't something we ever raised with Jason McCartney or GWS. But at the same time, you've got to do what's best by the Adelaide Football Club, and you've got a job. It has to be probably a win-win, but at the same time, we've got a certain value that we placed on the trade, and if you can't come to that arrangement, there obviously was, I guess, a bit of the security of the preseason draft in this situation.
So is this outcome that we've reached more on you guys not budging on the offer you gave them, or them refusing to take anything, below a certain thing which you weren't happy to give up?
Yeah, a bit of both. We certainly felt firm on what we thought the value was, and obviously GWS thought otherwise. And sometimes you're trying to find some middle ground, but I guess we didn't have that middle ground to really get to that end result. So I know publicly it was mentioned pick 40, and there was some other stuff around that. So we certainly went to them with some options. So that was always the intent. But my understanding is, with the way things finished late last night, they seem to have run out of time with the Cameron deal and the Caldwell deal. So that left Jackson, I guess, hanging in the end.
So are you getting a steal then? A former second rounder just 2 years ago, you're going to get him in the preseason draft probably. Is that a steal for the Crows?
Yeah, Max, it is. That's the deal. We'll obviously he'll have to self-delist and put himself into the preseason draft, and we're committed to taking him with that first pick. So it may look that way, but obviously, that certainly wasn't the intent. But we also had to stand firm with how we want to maximise our other draft picks and do what's best by the Adelaide Footy Club.
One more from me. Who do you like at 1?
If I told you that, Max, I'd have to kill you. Look, we really still need to go into that detail. We've done a lot of work all year, but with Hamish and the team, there's 3 or 4 people or players that, can really fit that spot. So we need to go into that detail more over the next fortnight. And we've always done that after the trade process. You really knuckle down on the focus on the draft and go to work.
Is there any chance that you place a bid on the Dogs man?
That's a real possibility. Again, that will be part of the work that we go into.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah, you there, buddy?
Yeah, g'day. Just on the future trade picking that can still go on in the next couple of days, are there any clubs in particular that you're working with to try to move up the draft this year?
Yeah, so we've got both options, obviously, to potentially move up into the draft this year, or on the night of the draft, or secondly, obviously, we can move into some future picks like we did with I guess, Melbourne Footy Club the other day. So there's options. I think most clubs will sit back, take stock of the transactions that have been had, and that opens up at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we'll have ongoing conversations. I think last year we did a couple of deals through this 2.5, 3 week period leading into the draft. So we're certainly open-minded about either getting up in the draft or going into the future.
Essendon and GWS are a couple of clubs in particular with quite a big draft bounty at the moment. Are those clubs that you'll be talking to, or can you expand on which clubs in particular you'll be speaking with?
Look, there'll be 17 clubs you usually speak to, so I think everyone's a consideration at the moment.
And just a bit of a random one, but has Luke Edwards given the club any kind of indication about what his plan will be?
No, we've had conversations with his management and with our NGA talent, and the conversations have been we really need to get through the trade period first to see where, I guess, one, what the list sizes are, and two, how many picks we have. So, again, it's a little bit premature, but they're conversations we'll have over the coming fortnight.
And this may fall into that category as well, but can you give any kind of commitment to the 3 people in your next generation academy list and father-son, whether they'll all be taken?
Yeah, again, that's something the work we'll do over the next fortnight. So we've only just got through trade period last night, so we'll pick that up again on Monday.
Great, thanks.
Anybody else want to revisit anything or got any other questions, guys?
Hey, Reid, can I just jump in? It's not specific to any deals, but you said GWS ran out of time. How do you run out of time in 2 weeks?
Oh, look, Theo, it's interesting. They said it for 2 weeks. It's interesting. Look, for the AFL, and as you guys will know, working in the media, the clickbait and the attention around it's fantastic. Usually at the start of a cricket season, Theo. So the AFL certainly love having that period of time. We all know a lot of the deals are done over the last 2 days, usually the last 2 hours. My understanding, the Caldwell deal landed with about 30 seconds ago. So it's time pressure. What are people willing to do under pressure? I guess that's what clubs use as part of their negotiation. But you're right. I think sometimes you can shop early and get something done. Sometimes you leave it to the last minute. So every deal's different and every situation's different. So it just really depends on, I guess, what cards you hold really determines and sometimes what the outcome is.
Fair enough. Thanks, mate.
Anything else, guys?
Yeah, just another one from me. How surprised were you that the Bulldogs picked 14, which it seemed like that they might shop for a little longer to the highest bidder, actually went on draft night as part of the Treloar trade?
Oh, look, Matt, without knowing the inner workings of those conversations, I think that pick 14 was pretty aligned with that transaction. Obviously, the Bulldogs were keen to maybe move that pick 14 at some stage, whether that was in trade period or post. There's never any guarantee around that. So, obviously, that's a transaction as part of the Treloar deal, and I guess that's what landed as part of those conversations. But without knowing or being a part of it, it's pretty hard to make comment.
Just another one sort of projecting forward. What were your thoughts on the changes to the NGA and the bidding process that will obviously change from next year?
Yeah, mate, it's interesting. To be honest, I haven't had too much time to really sit down and dissect it because it doesn't really impact this current period. It's probably something I'll pick up after, the trade and the draft period and really dissect it and have a look at it. But it's certainly, I think, from memory, it assists a little bit next year, but then everyone's on an even kilt 2 years beyond that. So, but as I said, I haven't really sat down and looked at it in detail yet, given it, I think it landed at the start of the trade period, and I guess our focus has been elsewhere at the moment.
Yeah, no worries.
All good, guys?
Hey, sorry, Reid, can I just ask one more?
No.
A few fans and members have been a little critical of not chasing a big fish or a big name player or South Australian. Clearly, your strategy is regeneration and draft. Could you share a few thoughts on why targeting a big name player or a big name free agent wasn't for you?
Yeah, Theo, I think 15 months ago, we're really clear on the strategy that we landed, as a whole club and from the board down. And we're rebuilding. And I think what we need to do is we need to expose the list. And unfortunately, because of COVID and the hub, we only got 17 games in this year. So we made certain decisions trade period last year with moving certain players out to create opportunity for the youth on the list. We certainly still got a core group of players on the list we need to help us keep competitive. But at the right time, and you've seen it with other clubs when they've rebuilt, you need to, I guess, spend those bickies or make those decisions when it's the right time. And at the moment, it's still not the right time. Where we sit on the ladder, the games we need to give to players that are on our list in this current draft crop, we need to expose the list before you understand where the real gap analysis is. It doesn't mean we don't keep an open mind, but it's just not the right time for us to, I guess, be in a buyer's market when we're trying to, I guess, expose the list that we've got at the moment before we go to that trade period, that free agency type of model.